Hello, my loves. So I am hopping on to talk about common dating struggles for the anxiously attached and how to heal so you can attract the love of your life. This is going to just break down for you the biggest blocks and challenges that you may have as you are dating and wanting to try to find your person. As we're going to dive into what you need to do to shift this so these things are not blocking you from attracting the right person and really attracting and choosing the right person and having that amazing, healthy, lasting relationship. I'm going to talk about just the basics of anxious attachment in case you are new to attachment theory. I'm going to talk about 10 of the most common dating struggles for those who are anxiously attached. I see this literally across the board with all of my clients who lean towards anxious attachment. I myself struggled with some of these. So this might help you realize why you're struggling and give you some awareness around what's going on. And then we're going to talk about steps for healing and what you can do so that you can shift things like literally starting today in your love life. So, anxious attachment is one of the insecure attachment styles. It is the one that we can develop if we had inconsistently available love and attention and attunement from our primary caregivers. So we didn't know necessarily when they were going to be there and when they wouldn't be available for us. And so there was just a misattunement and a misalignment in that. It can also be exacerbated through just experiences with dating. So if we had experiences with men who we were really like getting close to and they disappeared or they broke our heart, it can lead us to being afraid that that will happen again. So, anxious attachment, because it's all about the fear of losing connection with someone, the fear of abandonment, the fear of rejection, that what can happen with this attachment style is because we are so hyper aware of the person that we are caring about and wanting in our lives. We're so hyper aware of the closeness or distance, and often this is just perceived closeness or distance between us and that person. It has us hyper focused on the other person while dating, while in relationship, and the result of that is that it leads us to not be very much in tune with ourselves, with our needs, and leaves us instead like feeling this intense fear of rejection, of abandonment, and really underneath that is the fear of not being good enough. That's generally what we've made it mean. Either I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough. Why we think that someone would reject us or would abandon us. So, as a result, we are preoccupied with how we are being perceived. We go above and beyond to try to get positive validation from other people. This is seeps into all areas of your life, not just your romantic relationship. So that one tends to be the strongest. It is not the only place this stuff will show up. And someone with anxious attachment will seek external validation, that they are good enough, that they are worthy, that they are lovable, because how they are deciding that is based on people's responses to them, right? And so there is what tends to feel like this kind of bottomless pit of just like need for connection and reassurance, and the fear that you're going to be abandoned and found out not good enough. And so what this means is that your nervous system is stuck on hyper arousal around romantic love, hyper alert around connection with people, especially romantic love. So you probably have a tendency, therefore, to overanalyze the person's that you're dating or your partner's words and behaviors and are constantly doubting if this person is really into you, if they're really going to stay, if they're really committed to you and they're not going to leave. So as a result, you likely overgive, you people please, you try to make the other person really happy at the expense of yourself sometimes. And you tend to put the person that you are dating on a pedestal, and not just the person you're dating. This could be other people in your life as well, but on a pedestal, giving them the power to give you worthiness and seeing yourself as lesser than them. So this is because of childhood patterning around love. So we are then kind of subconsciously imprinted with this definition of like what love is and what it feels like, and we have a tendency therefore to choose partners who validate what we already believe about ourselves, which if you've got anxious attachment is that I'm not enough or I'm not worthy. And so you are often playing out these patterns with men that continue to prove that that's true and activate old wounds, leaving you feeling helpless and hopeless about love, and just in this cycle of never-ending cycle with men. It doesn't matter who it is, it keeps coming back. So I want to talk about 10 of the most common dating struggles for those who are anxiously attached. So the first one is constantly thinking about the other person and having trouble focusing on other things or finding enjoyment in anything else. Because remember, our nervous system is attuned to that person, and they're the primary bonding figure, they're our source of security, and so we become kind of obsessed with them. Number two is putting the person you are dating on a pedestal. So forgetting about their negative qualities, maybe not even seeing their negative qualities, overlooking red flags, and seeing only the positive about that person. At the same time, devaluing yourself and what you bring to the table. Number three is fear of abandonment. So this is one of the deep core wounds, the abandonment wound that anxious attached have. And so this has you hypervigilant for signs that the person you are dating may be pulling away. So you would be doing like keeping track of the exact amount of time between communication. Literally in your head, like you're tracking that, right? It's been 25 minutes since I sent that text, and they haven't answered yet. Noticing any shift in the other person's energy, being just hyper alert to it, even if it isn't really there. Sometimes we just see something, we think it has to do with us, but it has nothing to do with us, maybe. Personalizing everything that the other person is doing, making it mean something about us, and over analyzing everything about what they're saying and doing, just spending hours and hours and hours just pulling it apart in your head and replaying things. So, because of the fear of abandonment, number four, what tends to happen is that someone with anxious attachment tends to have an issue with self-abandonment. Because they are so hyper focused on the other person, because they've put their worth in the other person's hands, what happens is that we can self abandon and overlook needs that we have while trying to meet all of the other person's needs and molding ourselves to be whatever we think that person wants and needs because we don't want to lose them. And so we are putting more value in them than on ourselves. Therefore, we are abandoning ourselves. We are not necessarily asking for what we need and want. We are not leaving dating situations that aren't really fulfilling us. We are not speaking up, and we're self-abandoning in the attempt to get that worth from someone else. Number five, you're very aware of exactly how long it's been since you heard from the person. So this has to do with that hypervigilance, right? Noticing exactly how long it's been since you've heard from them. They saw my text, why haven't they answered? They're looking at my stories, why haven't they written me? I can see that they were online, but they're not responding. Just very aware of all these things. Number six, overanalyzing everything they say. So trying to find the hidden meaning, looking for evidence that they love you or don't love you or going to leave you, because again, that hypervigilance. Number seven is hiding who you really are, or just not really showing who you really are. In fact, changing yourself. You don't really share how you really feel. You don't really share what you really need. You usually invalidate those things, invalidate your needs, invalidate your feelings, are afraid they're too much, right? For fear that it would push that person away. Fearing that you're too much. It's too much. Number eight is acting out based on your fears in ways that self-sabotage. So these are protest behaviors, like calling or texting over and over until the person responds, because you just can't calm down until you hear from them. You're just going to make them try to answer. withdrawing if you're upset, with the hope that that person will chase, um, pushing that person away with different behaviors, telling them to go away, leave you alone, being silent, different things that would push someone away, threatening to leave to stop dating the person or to leave the relationship, even though you actually have no desire to. You just want them to chase you and tell you not to. You want that validation that they care. Different forms of manipulation, again, trying to get the validation that they care. So ignoring calls or pretending to be busy, different things like that. And then trying to make the other person jealous. So this could be like posting photos with other guys, referring to exes, telling them about someone who hit on you or asked you out, trying to get a reaction out of them, again, to prove that they care. Number 10 is having poor boundaries, not saying no, not speaking up. Again, this has to do with the fear that we are too much and that if we ask for more, if we say no, then we'll be abandoned, and putting the other person above us, right? And actually, there is a number 11, which is choosing unavailable partners and then pining after them long, long, long after they're gone, months later, sometimes even years later, pining after these unavailable people. So those were the 10 most common dating struggles for someone with anxious attachment. So maybe you are hearing yourself in this or some of this, you're recognizing this in you. So what I want to talk about now is what you can do to heal this, to change this. I want you to know that you can heal these sabotaging tendencies and patterns. You can rewire your operating system so that your behaviors, thoughts, and feelings move towards secure attachment, so that you can have that actual healthy, stable relationship with a really solid partner. So what can you do to heal? So I'm going to break this down into the 4 different kind of steps that are important. And the 4th step is not just what you can do to heal, but how you can have the relationship that you want, even while you're healing. Because myself, many of my clients, like, we have attachment patterns, we have attachment wounds, and yes, to a certain point, you need to heal some of this stuff. Otherwise, you'll continue to repeat these patterns. And also, knowing how to choose the right partner for you, and then being in relationship with that partner is going to be part of your healing. And so I want to support you also in being able to have that relationship even while you're healing. So anxious attachment is both a nervous system response to perceived distance or abandonment, as well as a set of beliefs that lead you to jump to certain conclusions. So it's a pattern of emotional pattern in your body, and it's a thought pattern as well, and these two are connected. So usually this is that everything someone is or isn't doing is about you, and it reflects your worth, right? So number 1, healing requires work on your attachment trauma, which is what is stored in your nervous system, in your actual nervous system, in your physical body. So this comes from your past experiences in childhood or other relationships, of feeling rejected, ignored, abandoned, like you weren't important, like you weren't seen. These past experiences, it could have been just an overall tone of your childhood, or it could have been particular experiences. But this is where your anxious attachment comes from. This is where the anxiety and the triggers you have and the beliefs that you have are coming from. So you've got to work with that first. So this is the nervous system trauma healing work. Number 2 is the cognitive work around your thinking and rewiring thinking patterns, learning your blind spots in your thinking, finding and rewiring the limiting beliefs that you have that are contributing to this anxious attachment, hyperactivation, and to your patterns. So I want to say here that these are 2 things that go together. If you just work on one without the other, you won't get the final results. It won't be embodied. So if you just work with the mind, you could read a lot about your attachment style. You actually won't shift anything in an embodiment level in terms of how you live your life. So it will be nice ideas and nice theories that you're like, yes, this is great. This makes so much sense. But when the rubber meets the road, you will immediately back in your old internal trauma response back in the old stories and beliefs and wounds, because the embodiment piece is missing. So you can still get super dysregulated, triggered, unable to focus on anything else, going through it in the emotional pit, basically. And this is because you haven't dealt with the actual trauma in the nervous system. If you just work on the nervous system, you will not have changed the thought patterns, right? And they're actually connected as you work on the nervous system. If you have someone who really knows what they're doing with both, that's what you really need, which is what I do for my clients or with my clients. So number 3 is to learn how to self-regulate and self-soothe, so you aren't depending on others to feel good or worthy or safe. So building that security within yourself. And this is work that you do with your inner child and with other parts. And again, with the nervous system, it's all connected. But learning how to do that is so important, because when you have anxious attachment, you don't know how to do that. That's part of anxious attachment, is not being able to self-soothe and self-regulate, and you can learn how to do this. Number 4 is learning what to look for. And I literally cannot stress this enough. It is so, so important. And you can find the right person and enter a relationship with an amazing person, even if not all of this is healed, which it probably won't be, because part of what happens is we heal in healthy relationships. But if you don't know what to look for, all this work won't be enough. So usually what we do is we unconsciously are attracted to people who mirror our wounds, our negative beliefs. And so people who are emotionally unavailable, plain old unavailable, unstable, and insecurely attached themselves, are the people we're going to be attracted to, especially the ones who mirror exactly what we believe is wrong with us, and exactly what is unlovable about us, and exactly what we think we can have and can't have. And so for someone with anxious attachment, that tends to be someone on the opposite end, because they're going to mirror the wounds, or just someone who is avoidant. And so but it doesn't even have to be avoidant. It could just be an unavailable person who's just not ready for a relationship or doesn't want one with you, and we attach to them and we want them. So what happens is that reaffirms our subconscious negative beliefs about ourselves, that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable. And even though their behavior doesn't have anything to do with your worth, you will end up sticking it out with someone and chasing them and pining after them, because you interpret their behavior as having something to do with you, that it is your fault. It's your fault that they don't communicate regularly. It's your fault that they are a closed book. It's your fault that they're hot and cold, on and off. It's your fault that he disappeared or wouldn't commit. None of that is true, but in the wiring of the nervous system, it seems like that is the truth, and that's why we keep going back to those situations. So when you heal the trauma stored in your nervous system and rewire your brain and learn how to self-regulate, you are then able to release the beliefs and stories you've held about yourself and choose people who are a true fit for what you actually want, who aren't just mirroring your wounds back to you. And so having self-awareness around what not to go for is an important piece of this as well. What will happen when you do that rewiring healing work is you raise your self-worth. You will automatically start to make healthier choices about the people you choose, because you will no longer be self-abandoning at the drop of a hat, because you'll be there for yourself first and be less bothered when someone doesn't choose you or show up for you at the level that you want and need. So instead of it mean something about yourself, when they do that, you're able to let it go. So you are able to express your needs and set boundaries and really be yourself, instead of shaping yourself into what you think the other person wants. You'll be able to handle situations when the person you are dating is just being human, just taking care of themselves, just working, just otherwise busy, and not freak out and read it as the end of everything and then respond with those self-sabotaging behaviors, when you have integrated and healed those things and have the ability to self-regulate and self-soothe. Okay, so those are the 4 things that have to be done if you've got anxious attachment. So if you're listening and you're like, oh my God, that's me, I'm struggling with that, I'm glad you found me, because this is the work that I help women do so they can heal, rewire, and then attract and choose really amazing men who want a committed relationship. and enrollment for my Mastermind, the High Value Woman, which helps you embody all of this and do this work to heal, to rewire, to reprogram, and date from a healthy place, healthy, empowered place, so you can find the right man for you quickly, effortlessly, with ease. It's open for enrollment. So it's everything that I had to learn the hard way. I had to piece together from all these different places, plus my own hard learned lessons, because I leaned toward anxious attachment. And I've been studying relationships and love and inner work for over a decade. It's all applied to myself, and since then, work with many, many clients to help them do the same. So the High Value Woman Mastermind is a group coaching program. So you not only get like specific modules and videos and worksheets and things teaching you exactly how to do all of this, but you also get the live coaching. So you get weekly live coaching calls with a small group of women who are handpicked to be a right fit for this container. And in addition to that, you get one-on-one calls for the really deeper inner healing work. There is a private Facebook group where you can get support throughout the week. So you go, let's say you are dating someone and you're getting triggered, or things are coming up, or you have a question, is this a red flag, or what am I missing here? Whatever it is, you get that support throughout the week in that group. And then you get 8 content-packed modules that go along with the live weekly coaching. So that's over 50 videos, PDFs, worksheets. So clients who've gone through this work with me have attracted their dream men in literally 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, gotten into committed relationships with their dream men, and are still happily together years later, because this is not that hard. It really is not. I have like broken this down to make it so easy for you. So DM me for the link to schedule a consultation call to see if working together is a fit for you. There's also like one-on-one spot left. So if you want that, again, DM me for the link. I can't wait to connect with you and just to see how I can support you and help you attract your dream man. So I am going to sign off now, and I will see you later.